rotations, and that the blending meaning where those two rotations sort of straighten out and then go straight, and then it moves to the other rotation like a magnetic field from south to north.
I have trouble visualizing it, but I'll try and see if I find it in the chat.
Well, here's one. I'll post a few images. This one shows like sort of the idea of wind currents, but it shows a general idea of having two poles. If you would imagine those wind currents are the stars, essentially, you could sort of, that's just one animation. This is a projection. It's called the Chamberlain trimetric. It's kind of at an angle. I don't know why they do it at an angle, but that's like a projection that shows a two-pole type thing where Antarctica is maintained as a continent, and then the North Pole is maintained the North Pole. And then what this does is it puts the Pacific Ocean around the outside. Instead of putting Antarctica around the outside, like the 90 South, the way the Gleason's or AE map does, this North Center type map, this one puts the Pacific Ocean as the rim around the outside. But yeah, those are some of the ideas.
The picture 2 pictures ago, the dual model one, dual pole model, has things Pac-Manning along the celestial equator. So it just goes off the sky on one side and reappears on the other magically.
Well, I don't think anyone's claiming that. I mean, if somebody has a model that they're including that idea, they could, but because the stars would never go straight on the equator, they would always be going either north or south.
Which we don't see because I did put a star trail time lapse of the celestial equator and the stars. So I don't even know how that works on the flat Earth, any model. How you'll have a straight line of stars in the sky.
But Geo, ships go across the Pacific from the west coast of the Americas to Asia.
West coast of America to Asia. Yeah. Well, that's one of the discrepancies. Now, the thing is, though, to keep in mind that on let me see if I have one. I know like New Perspective. All right, like if I just post this one real quick. Here, I'll just post this one. This is one of the early ones I think that Dave had made. But I think just the general idea with this, so that northern rotation, like all those, the rotation in the north, any one of those latitude circles, like going around Polaris, would be what's called a small circle route on a globe, like the equivalent of, I should say. Here, I have this image right here. This is of a globe. This image right here shows what a small circle route is. So the great circle route, it would be on the equator or any other, loop all the way around. It would be a great circle route. But a small circle route is when you stay on the latitude and you maintain on that latitude, let's say 40 degrees north or something. You maintain there, and then you would be making a small circle route. Well, those circles on that kind of dual pole depiction, either the ones going around the South Antarctica, that would be like a small circle on the south part of the ball, the equivalent of, and then the northern circle. So what I'm saying is that if you were going around one of the poles, you would be doing the equivalent of a small circle route. However, so that would kind of account for the going around, like rotating, like basically circumnavigating the northern or the southern around one of the poles. But the thing that this does is when you put the Pacific Ocean as the rim around the outside, you can't just sail across it the way you could if it's a globe, because you have to take that map and like wrap it all the way. You have to take that Pacific rim on the outside and then wrap it around a ball to be the backside of the ball. And if it is the backside of the ball, then that whole rim on the outside, you can actually just, on the globe, you would just traverse across the ball. So I do know what you're saying, zzpop. That is one of the questions that would need to be understood. Like, yeah, like you're saying, if you were to go from California and just dead reckon, like not go up around the Polaris or anything, but not doing a small circle route, but just dead reckoning, yeah, would you end up over, where Australia is?
No, you would not. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's not small circles. These are big circles, and the ship would be turning right the entire time.
Right.
So it's called a small circle route.
I love your delivery. You're the master of deadpan.
There are ideas that don't work, and he knows they don't work, but they keep producing them so that the flat earthers have hope.
I know.
But I
And he
think
like talks with that voice, like, well, if we were to like, I wish I could like imitate his voice because it's like he's got a little bit of who's
Geo's
that flat
okay.
earther that does that shit? Like, yeah. Oh no, he's like a toned down version of Quantum Eraser.
Wait, what
Like
happened, buddy? I thought you were leaving.
I got bored again.
Okay.
Got bored again. I got stuff going on over here. But yeah, Gio, can you like? I mean, can you just be out with it? Just admit you're here to grift. Or you're here to like take advantage of these poor saps, and then I can let you just because I mean you be sounding like you're trying to like present a business plan for a marketing firm. What you be talking? He does actually. He sounds like he's like in the conference room every single time. It's like you talk about this bullshit.
But you're not going to get anywhere doing personal attacks.
I said he sounds like a businessman trying to market something in a business conference. What is the attack?
Well, you said grift.
I asked him, I said, could you just admit that you're grifting? Not a personal attack. It's hey, if you're grifting, you're grifting.
Well, I've never taken in any money from doing this ever in terms of discussing the Earth cosmology. And actually, the only thing I've done is spent money, and it's been at this point many, many thousands. I think it's over 20,000 when you add up like what it costs to keep the server going, to keep all the channels going, all of the
How many
subscription,
channels?
everything that's needed.
How many channels?
I'm just saying, like, there's no need I need to defend myself from just some random slander you're making. But I'm just saying the truth of the matter is I've never intaken any money, and I've only spent my own money out of my own pocket to keep it all going. So
Okay, I've heard
it's
it
like
all.
it's like the opposite. It's like the opposite of grifting. if
Eyes
if
ain't
you're
working
trying to
now.
make that idea, it would be
Look
the
who's
opposite.
working hard. We that line was really cool in like 2017.
Anyways,
Don't
yeah,
talk
but
to.
we were talking about the actual topic. I don't know. You've shifted it
I
into this.
mean, you just presented another thing that suffers from the problem of divergence. Now the divergence is over land. Okay, divergence is either going to be over the land, going to be over the stars, or it's going to be over the topology anyway of the whole thing. So, I mean, what do you want to do? At some
All right,
point,
so
I have to look 180 degrees in the opposite direction of what the map says is pointing down my heading. What do you want me to do?
okay, zzpop.
Yeah,
I was
go ahead.
responding to what you were saying. Did you have any response back? Because I hear what you're saying. Like the Pacific Ocean has, like it's the same with
Yeah.
just really briefly, like with the AE map, the Gleason's, the North Pole centered, it puts Antarctica as a rimmer on the outside, but it
Mhm.
spreads those points out, to where like if Antarctica is a continent, you could just travel a short distance across, well, a much shorter
Yeah.
relative distance across a continent. But when you spread around the outside, so it's the same with the Pacific Ocean. Like the Pacific Ocean, you would be able on the globe to travel across it. Whereas when it's a rim around the outside, I know what you mean. It starts to inhibit some of those, free flowing pathways when you have it as a rim around the outside. And I have some of those same inquiries.
And what's the rim made of now?
Well, if the Pacific Ocean is surrounding the two poles, if that was how it was laid out, you're saying what would be beyond the Pacific? I mean, yeah, is there like another ice wall that's not Antarctica? You're like, there's that idea, or it could be like there's like an infinite plane idea. Is that what you're saying? Like what surrounds it?
Well, what do you think?
Well, I don't necessarily assert this map as being the answer. I have certain like arguments and understandings in terms of the sky. Basically, there's one GP for every star. If you have one GP for every star, then you would have two poles because you have two poles in the sky, two poles on the ground. So like there's certain arguments I have in terms of like the nature of what's present of what we observe, but the whole nature of how those two poles would be laid out with the land and all of that. Like I said, I would still have some questions that I would want to. Like I'm not just going to jump to theories. I mean, it's fun to speculate, but I haven't mapped the Earth, myself, so I don't really. I mean, there's like fun theories to speculate about, but are you saying, yeah? Does that you see what I'm saying? Like I really don't have the full map to be able to say for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just pointing out these seem like there's some severe issues here with all of these maps.
Well, the thing is with the dual pole type layout, like I was describing, the thing about the small circle routes is when you relate those to the two poles, like going around, let's say you're just at 45 north and you stay on 45 degrees latitude north and you just go round and around Polaris. Or if you go to the south, 45 south, and you go round and around Sigma Octantis, those are equivalent to small circle routes on the globe. So like all of those navigations where you're actually going, doing one of those small circle routes would still fit pretty similarly in the same way that the AE map for the north, fits the path of the sun the way the globe does as well, or at least the globe model, like the path of the sun matches pretty well. And then when you just add the southern one, because basically when the sun's going at, like, let's say it's 23.4 degrees, like on the Tropic of Capricorn, that is a small circle route. Like the Tropic of Capricorn itself is a small circle route, and so is the Tropic of Cancer. So when the sun's on it, it's just making that path round and round and round. But the discrepancies come in at the equator. Like if you were to travel straight on the equator, what would happen? Because obviously on a planar Earth, like you're not, unless there was some kind of Pac-Man thing, you're not going to, which I don't have any reason to assume that's happening. I mean, if it was, we could discover it, but I mean, I'm not going to leap to that or anything. But, and then like the other thing you said is if you just went basically outward at any angle from that dual pole type layout, how do do you end up on the other side? Like in a Pac-Man-esque type thing, or if it's a globe, you're going around the ball. So yeah, I know I'm just kind of reiterating that point, but I mean, that was like one of the points you had brought up. And so, yeah, it has those caveats that would need to be understood. But I also think, I mean, they could have certain areas like limited to our access, like with maritime laws, like, that's one thing as well. Like if they're hiding certain access to
You don't
certain...
think someone could just take a ship on the equator and just go like west from South America?
Yeah, that would be like, like New Perspective and I've talked about that. And has anyone done that we have documentation of? Like staying right on the equator the whole time, circumnavigating?
I mean, or even really close to the equator.
I've read some stories and some of the claims. There's one guy that did it like basically on foot and in his own little boat, and he claimed to stay like pretty close to the equator.
I mean, there's
sorry,
so much.
can I just comment
Pacific.
a comment on the previous my previous questions, because I just saw the graphs that you posted, the plots or whatever you call them, of the duopole magnetic field, alleged magnetic field on a plane, and I can tell you that if I understand what you're referring to, what picture you're referring to, we know that magnetism and magnetic field, we know the equations that govern magnetism, and that kind of field is not possible with two poles on a plane. And yeah, basically it would just defy the first law of magnetism, which is the divergence being zero. You cannot have one pole like that, let alone two. Even if you use a dipole magnet, the magnetic field lines are always closed. They never converge to a point.
Isn't the magnetic field like two counter-rotating fields?
Sorry?
Isn't a magnetic field, isn't it two counter-rotating fields, like a vortex? When you look at a magnetic field like in a ferrocell.
It does obey some equations. You can have uniform magnetic fields, so there's no vortex in it, and
I'm posting a few images.
Just have to obey Maxwell's equations. If you're doubting that Maxwell's equations are correct, then okay. But we've known electromagnetic equations for over 1.5 centuries now, and so we can say that we do understand electromagnetism.
That's kind of a bold claim, right? We're just like learning about the potentials now. Like Japan just recently, within what, the last 20 years or whatever it was, they just got down to like half, like a huge portion of the scientific community was torn on the idea of electromagnetic potentials and how potentials alone, without measurement of force, can't affect things. So say we understand magnets or electromagnetic forces, I think that's a little bit hubris.
Well, Franco, can you see the pictures that Geo posted down there? It shows like diagrams of the magnetic field, and it's counter-rotating concentric circles, right? So kind of like the two rotating hemispheres of the sky.
Yeah, and then this just I want to hear you respond, but I'm just going to post this one too. This one also shows the guy who posted this video, he called it the electric Coriolis effect. I think he kind of I don't know if that's an official phrase, but yeah, you put a magnet underneath, and then he has two electrical nodes, and it shows the clockwise and counterclockwise motion. That one's a gift. Real quick, I have the video I'll post as well that I think, and there's actually the original YouTube video too, but the video might be a little bit smoother animation. But yeah, it shows the two rotations, over flat water. But go ahead, Franco.
Yeah, I saw that the two rotations of flat water. I saw that it's nothing to do with Coriolis. But okay, no. The point is these pictures, apart from the one in yellow here, which looks like an owl, but the other ones they are correct. But for instance, the second one is an electric field, which is something different than a magnetic field.
Magnetic.
And by the way, no, I don't know. I'm not even sure what. No, looking back, what this electric field of a circuit is, I'm not sure what it is. I would have to read the text, because it doesn't. It's not consistent. Probably what it's doing is comparing an electric dipole field to a magnetic dipole field. The two fields, electric and magnetic dipole, are the same. They have the same shape, but very far away from the source. This is a depiction of the source of an electric dipole or a magnetic dipole close to the the source. And in those circumstances, you cannot talk about dipole, strictly speaking, and they're very different. The two, probably this is what is depicted in Figure 9 here. It's not, but these things are governed by equations, and the equations, we know them very well, and it's Maxwell's equations. They are describing things mathematically and very rigorously. So you can, making pictures like this can be useful sometimes, but it's not the whole thing. You have to describe them mathematically. So if you have analogies of two vortices, okay, that can be a visual analogy, but when it comes to the actual shape of the field, that is something that has to obey very precise equations.
It's not an analogy; it's a direct natural observation, right? We can observe the shape and the geometry of these fields, right? You see that bottom one in the second picture where it's yellow? That's a magnetic field. And it looks just like a dipole. It has two poles split down the middle, right? Counter-rotating concentric circles.
No, I'm sorry, but in the last picture, the yellow thing, the two holes that appear here, like the two seeds in the apple and so on, they're not the two magnetic poles. I'm sorry, they're not. If the dipole, no, they're not. The dipole, the dipole magnetic field. If you take in the picture, in the last picture Geo posted, if you take the top right field, is a field produced by a circuit, a circular loop with current, and then if you have to take the field that is produced by a magnet, a bar magnet, then you would see that it's approximately the same when you go far away from the magnet itself, but the two poles are one to the left and one to the right, not top and down. They're not this. They're not the two holes in the yellow picture.
Okay, well, we can see with magnetism, we get that geometry. That's what we're trying to point out here.
Yeah, but the geometry that you see in a picture is something that is totally qualitative, and physics is a quantitative science. You have to make quantitative predictions.
It's a direct observation.
Yeah,
that supersedes fucking mathematical framework.
But the observation of analogies is nothing, isn't useful to anything. In physics, you have to make predictions, numerical prediction and mathematical predictions, and compare them.
We're looking for a viable explanation for this motion that we're observing, right? So wouldn't
you need
a
to have
geometry that
equations.
exactly matches it, wouldn't that be kind of a hint that it might be kind of viable for an explanation?
Again, in physics, you need to have quantitative predictions and quantitative explanations with data, equations and numbers that then you can compare with actual numbers that you get from experiments, numbers with errors and with uncertainties. Because looking at pictures like you do on a primary school book is not enough for physics. That's not physics. That's some analogy that you can make. Then
so if we had a system with circuits like the solar system or whatever you're saying, we wouldn't be able to describe that with the electric laws that we have right now.
If you do it numerically with equations, then we can compare the equations and the numerical results with the observations and see if it fits. That's what physics is about.
That's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't we be able to? We can already describe, if we know the circuitry and the path of the circuits, why couldn't we use those equations to describe, the behavior that we see?
If you can, good.
Saying why wouldn't we be able to?
I don't know.
If
you're able, that's fine. People have, I don't know. It depends. If you have, we have equations. We have Maxwell's equations. So if you say this is a magnetic field, I'm telling you, I don't. If you look at the picture itself usually does not give you enough, does not convey enough information. Of course, if you have a picture with the magnetic field converging to poles, then I can tell you exactly that does not obey, this violates one of the equations in particular, the null divergence. Thus we know magnetic monopoles do not exist, so we don't have the possibility of magnetic field lines converging to a point. That is against what we know about magnetism. But so this is some qualitative, quote unquote, thing that one can extract from a picture. But otherwise, if you don't have the equations of the lines, then you cannot tell whether it's a possible magnetic field or not. You need to have.
And not only that, even if you did have them, it's not going to match the star movement that we see.
Yeah. I don't know, but anyway, that's not. If you just make analogies by looking at, the cloud shapes, okay, it can be suggestive, it can be very beautiful, it can be poetic, it can be artful, but it's not scientific. You need to have not physics.
Why are you acting like we need a unified model? You guys don't have a unified model that works on all scales, right? Why can't we just look at the circuits? Right, the observed path of the circuits and just describe the motion from a stationary Earth. Just directly apply the laws of physics.
I'm sure I got the question, but we have models, and we so far the things that we observe are described by the models. Of course, there are still open questions in cosmology and whatever, but this is something You don't need. This is why physics and science is still active. We're not finished. We're still researching because there are still open questions in some fields. But other things, other fields, we have working models, and as long as they're not falsified and discovered to be wrong, then we keep them. That's
Yeah,
what
but
we've
even
done.
when they are, they're held on for decades. The scientific community has held on so many times things that are just blatantly wrong. They hold
Because
it for decades.
of course, because this is for one thing, it's a human sort of attitude which is very hard to eradicate, and then of course if you have something that has been working for decades or for centuries, then it's very hard to let it go, and then
Even
you
when
have to
it's
be
not
convinced.
working, even when
But
it's just a theory, when it's not even working, has no real purpose. It's just a theory. It's held on to still.
No, there's just a theory
No.
thing is a very unscientific thing to say, and we know what matters
What do you mean
is
it's
that we have.
unscientific to say theory? What?
Yeah, because people are confusing. I just looked it up yesterday again because some people were saying some people were using the definition on the dictionary of theory.
Well,
Saying that
scientific theory is completely different than the word theory. Scientific theory is basically fact. All right.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly. Scientific theory,
when it's a
not
theory and it's presented as a scientific theory, but it's just not true, that's where shit gets convoluted. And those theories, under the guise of science, get held onto and then replaced.
Yeah.
So say like things like this don't happen. Like, yeah, it does quite a bit throughout history. There's plenty of accounts of it.
Yeah. It's been and that's why physics is still alive.
No, that has nothing to do with why physics is still alive.
That's your take. It's not mine. It's not the science community take. So
You don't speak for the scientific community, so I don't know what
I
you
speak
did
to myself.
there.
Yes, but I'm part of the scientific community. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but the two things don't go together. Is my point. One doesn't follow from the other.
Okay.
Just because physics exists, it doesn't mean it has nothing to do with what I said.
Okay.
It's like when we treat things like, oh, this is absolute fact. This is definitely true. This is 100% true. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then it gets replaced or it doesn't line up with another theory or model. It's like, oh, just ignore that. We'll get to that later.
No. Physics never says something is.
I didn't say
100%
physics. I didn't say physics. That's you.
Okay.
Strawmanning me.
Okay.
Talking about science, dude.
Talking about physics. I'm a physicist, so I talk about physics.
I have a comment on this star field thing. So, Gio, I don't know if you're still there, but so you know, these circles, these vortices that you're showing and comparing to a magnetic field, that's not the shape of a magnetic field around a north and south end. What you're comparing it to is a cross-sectional side view of the magnetic field produced by a coil or by a loop, right? So there's a slight confusing misalignment here of you've basically taken a magnetic field and turned it on its side and then pressed it down onto the Earth, onto the positions of the North and South Pole. But if this was meant to be coming from the North and South Pole, the whole orientation of it is off by 90 degrees. But anyway, be that as it may, because, you know, it's just an analogy of like, oh, what if the stars moved in the same pattern as the magnetic field lines when seen from the side of the cross section of a coil? We do actually need to do the comparison precisely. Like, we would need to know the equations for exactly what the shape of these loops are to actually be able to say that it is matching a magnetic field rather than just kind of looking like it's matching a magnetic field, you know, and kind of like to the sloppy human eye.
All right.
stars-
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. So the thing is, and I agree with you that these are cross sections. Especially when they're 2-dimensional and on a flat, either sheet of paper or on a flat image on your screen, like the magnetic field, those like field lines of the magnetic field. Yeah, it's like a horizontal cross section of the field, and you can also do a vertical one. But let's say for a moment that the field is a sphere or is toroidal or has a spherical nature, the field itself. And then if you were to sort of like if you took an electric field, let's just say it was a sphere of the the way it was functioning, like 3D. And then if you were to like press it down into like a table, and then you were to mark all the points that it touches the table, yeah, you would end up with that cross section of it. Which basically, this image right here, I always post this one. I like it a lot because it just shows the geometries. You have the sphere in the middle. You have the like an azimuth layout of the on the bottom, and then underneath. And then the vertical wall is essentially like a stereographic projection of spherical coordinates on the vertical wall. So if you were to take that sphere and kind of move it vertically and have it go through the wall, and when it's going through the wall, you would be marking down all the points of how the field lines sort of project. And so I hear what you're saying, like to then take that vertical wall and just say, oh, that's what the sky is. Well, now you're taking something that's flat and then putting it above. And I'm not suggesting the sky is a flat stereographic thing like that. But what it may be is that just like if you had a spherical electric field and you like pressed it down into a table, and theoretically, if you could just go through the table, and as you're putting that spherical field through the table, every time it touches, you're marking, on the table, and then you would end up with sort of a grid. Now that may be what the sky is. The sky may have a spherical nature to it. I'm not necessarily suggesting that the sky goes down under the ground, though. So I don't really mean a sphere that goes under the ground. But let's just say like the hemisphere above us has a hemispherical way that it functions and thus spherical. And let's say it is a whirling, twirling, toroidal, spherical thing up there for the moment, above a planar surface. If you were to, and I'm just saying that as a joke using those words, but if you were to then take that field, the spherical field lines of it, and then pull it down to the plane of the Earth, and then you could mark out everything on the plane of the Earth. So yeah, do you see what I'm kind of saying? Just making that analogy. And then like that the sky could be a spherical thing that we're projecting down onto the Earth. And then the fact that the way that it has those two poles. And so, yeah, I agree. Like those cross sections are kind of a crude way to represent it, because obviously the sky would be much more 3-dimensional than a 2D field line.
I mean, one issue I definitely am having with it is like with the stereographic projection, the circles that are near the equator are getting blown out into infinitely large circles in the projection. And that gets back to my question of just like, how would a ship that's following one of these circles through the Pacific not know that it's this gigantic distance it needs to do to like go all the way around the North Pole to go from the US to China? And then, of course, the other question is, what is the physical nature of whatever the vortex is? If it's something that's moving the stars, then what is the vortex? What is moving the stars in this pattern?
Yeah. Well, so for the first one for a second here, I have this image. Can we just see if we agree on this? So just to respond to the first thing you said. So this image shows kind of one of the dual pole type layouts or maps that are referred to as dual pole. This is equal area, azimuthal equal area. But anyways, that green line shows like if you were to go from like LA over to China. Now it looks like you're kind of making like that curved line like that, but that is equivalent to, like I typed before, or I posted before, the this here, I'm just posting again, a small circle route. So basically that green line on that dual pole one is equivalent to one of those small circle routes. Like if you were to stay in the north, if you were to stay at 45 degrees latitude or something. So do you agree with that? That would be like within the range of equivalent?
Well, I don't know what you mean by equivalent. It's like, I get that your one maps to the other due to the projection, but the projection is distorting what the lengths are. Like, you are changing what the lengths of these circles are.
Well, that could be contested, or whether the distances are different. I'm just kind of saying that if you take a globe and you project it in this way with a stereographic, you would end up with like an AE map in the north and AE map in the south, equivalent to what they claim the globe has. So I was just saying in that general way, because that was one of the first things you were saying. Like if you were to go from the United States like over around to China, and I'm just saying that there is an equivalence in the two projections of basically a small circle route. Like on a globe, if you were to leave from America and you'd be turning your boat to the right. Same thing, just like on that green circle shows. Like you would be on a globe. Like let's say you left at 45 degrees latitude going west, and you kept going west on 45 and you stayed on 45. You would have to turn your vehicle to the right a little bit. And you would also do that on the planar one. So I'm just saying those small circle routes are equivalent in terms, or let's just say within range of equivalent. We could definitely get into like, are the distances accurate and all of that, but
like if I'm to take the distances as literal in the flat image, then it's shorter for a plane to fly from LA to Beijing going east than to go the long way of the arc through the Pacific going west.
Well, I mean, I'm not asserting that map is to scale or accurate, but I hear your point. I mean, that would be the same on a globe too. Like you could go the other way on the globe. Like let's say you could go from America to China going over Europe instead of going over, the other way. So like on a globe,
just like this makes I mean, this is making the distances dramatically different. Depending on which way you go, because of the size difference of the circle.
Okay. You'd have to show what you mean. I'm not. I mean, the thing is, we're given like the map coordinates. These are all different projections of the globe coordinates we're given. So there's still the question of like, what are even the correct, the correct coordinates and the correct distances. And if you consider that the Earth isn't a sphere, then obviously what we're being told is not 100% accurate. But yeah, I hear your points. I have some of these same questions that you do about some of these dual pole type layouts. So I'm not asserting it in a way that like, oh, this is the answer, this is fully it. I think, like I said before, there's arguments in terms of the GPs and the two poles, the GPs, the ground positions of all the celestial bodies. But yeah, I hear you. Like in terms of getting into distances and travel, that would all need to be kind of like put together. Like the puzzle pieces would have to come together in terms of how it's all functioning. I mean, on like a general meta point, I mean, from the view, okay, if the Earth was a sphere and we were just being told the truth, then okay, then that would just be it. And there really wouldn't be that much need to even discuss it if that was the case. But when folks are considering that it isn't the sphere we're told, then there's that Gleason's AE map, which goes around, which, some people think could be the case. But if that's also incorrect and the Earth is planar, then there's like the third thing that we would need to actually discover, which would be what the Earth actually is. And when I say discover, I'm saying like, again, this is from that perspective that the Earth isn't a globe. It also isn't a single pole AE map. Then what is the actual Earth, And there may be just some facets that we haven't been able to independently verify enough to try to put together like a whole independent model from the ones that we're given.
Does that map have lines of latitude crossing over each other?
I mean, if you're willing to say that just like all reported distances are in question, then okay. But like planes fly between I just looked up two cities as a good example, New York City and Bangkok. And planes can fly in both directions. I think there is a preferred direction because of the jet streams, but planes have flown in both directions, east and west, between New York and Bangkok. And the difference in time is only about an hour to 2 hours of going east versus going west. Which would suggest that no matter what you think, that it's within a similar range of distances to go east versus west. But here on this map, if you take one of these circles, one that, loops New York and Bangkok together, going east means you go through less than a third of the circle, a third of the oval, and going west means you go through like 2/3 of the oval.
Yeah, I got you. I think there certainly could be various like distortions going on in the map layouts and in terms of what we're given and then these projections. So I don't know that anyone is like staking claim to say like, oh, this projection is the one, where everything maps perfectly. Because the thing is, like, I've always said this too, like, let's say I gave you a map right now. Like, let's say I went and mapped the whole Earth and I said, this is the real map. It's not the one we're given and this is the real one. You would have to like go check it. You know what I mean? Like, you could check it just from looking at it and see if it seems to make sense from afar. But like technically, you'd have to go out and actually match the map I made to the actual soil of the Earth to even confirm it. It's kind of
you never want to confuse the map for the territory.
Okay, but I mean, like, do you think that a lot of commercial flight information is in question?
Not necessarily, but I think they could have a way that it's orchestrated to where there are certain, let's say, shortcuts or certain anomalies that they patch up for. And there's a couple different ideas I have as to how that could be occurring. So yeah, I do think distances could be in question, but obviously within a range. I mean, there, the difference between a planar or a globe. But yeah, I think that. Okay, I mean, there's a lot I could say, but I'm just trying to keep my point, just the response brief. I would say that, well, yeah, I guess I mostly already said it, but just that distances could be in question. Yes. Now, driving from like my, house, down to the city or whatever is one thing, distance wise that you could verify to it, within a range of, so like on the land, like on the grids that we're living on, that's one thing. But when you start to get to like how the Earth is all actually pieced together, like between the continents, long distances in the oceans, and stuff like that, you get into more of the bigger questions of those distances, because that's what really comes in when you bring curvature versus non-curvature. Like we've talked about doing like a 4-point test, and you'd have to almost do it like in the entire size of the United States, like 4 points, like, one down in Florida, one up in Maine, one down in LA, and then one up in Oregon, kind of thing. Like it would have to be huge to decipher the distance between planar and globe. So if that's like the entire United States, like that is a huge task for someone to do, to be able to verify the distances from those 4 points and then confirm whether those fit on a planar or a globe. And like, who's really done that, like verify the distances. So I'm just saying the discrepancies between planar and globe with distances I think they're within a range where the powers that be, as it were, could have basically kind of ad hoc or like patched together a system that is also linked into GPS that basically works to a level at what a civilian level can confirm, but that there would be discrepancies if somebody actually did all the work to find them. Is kind of a
so you think like the distance between the four corners of the United States could be quite a long way off?
No, I'm saying that would be about the size. It would that's one of the ways we've looked at it, of how big you'd have to make the 4 points to decipher if those 4 points are sitting on a plane or on a curve.
Yeah, but I mean, with the distances, which is in the mainstream, you think they are completely wrong?
I haven't checked all the distances to know myself, so I would have
It
to.
should not be like, it should be just within the range of 15%, not more than that.
Within 15%?
Yeah.
The other question I had was, what are the vortices made of that would be causing the stars to undergo this type of motion?
And wouldn't the stars sort of, as they rotate around the two different centers of the pole, meet at the equator?
It's dark
If they
matter.
rotate?
Dark polarity. Doesn't
Um,
Isa calls it dark polarity?
like when you say like they should appear to meet on the equator, it's just like it's for observer, like how an observer sees the sky in a circular way. Like when we see the sky, when the sky is flat, then we will see it in in a circular way. Some people call it like personal atmospheric dome, or celestial sphere, some kind of thing, right? Like celestial sphere is different, but when it comes to personal celestial sphere or personal atmospheric dome, it's just like how we perceive the sky. So we don't know the laws of perspective, how personal celestial sphere or personal atmospheric dome, it's just like how we perceive the sky. So we don't know the laws of perspective, how those things work. So if the sky we are observing curved way, so uh, right. So even if there are two celestial spheres over the Earth, it will appear in different way.
But still, if you go by the rotational vortex pattern that Geo has posted a couple of times, suggesting the stars are rotating around two different poles, then
Yeah. So there are.
start. Yeah. Let's say you start at 6 o'clock and you look at the stars, which are as far opposite one another as possible, and then 12 hours later, those will be very close to one another as they rotate around like it's almost like two disks, one in the north and one in the south.
Yeah, this not the celestial spheres, not the hemispheres. It's disks rotating on celestial north pole or celestial south pole around, right? So there are two disks of the stars, anti-clockwise and clockwise. They are not hemispheres. We perceive them as hemisphere. So it is what we see. We see in curve, but in real, it could be flat. The sky.
No,
We don't know how
but
the
I
sky
mean
works.
that circling vortex pattern. You have like two centers, one in the north, one in the south, and then you have stars orbiting around the south pole and stars orbiting around the north pole, and they sort of meet at the equator. So if you rotate those two star patterns, the stars would meet at the equator. They don't. The angular distance between the stars never changes.
No, it's same for globe also.
No, on the globe, the distance between the stars never change.
Well, so
on the globe, there are different rotations, right? In south and north, so it should meet at the equator, according to you.
No, they don't. The images you see is taken by a wide angle lens, so it's an optical illusion. Go out, use proper equipment, measure the distance between the stars during the night. No, the distance, the angular separation between them does not change.
And the same thing would be applied there.
Take a picture of something like Orion. At any time of the night, even when it's only half of Orion is above the horizon, it's always the same.
Well, just a brief comment to also reply to what you had directed towards me to inquire about. But like, first of all, like, what is it made of? I mean, that is like definitely to me in the realm of speculation, of course, but I mean, like superfluid, plasma, sonoluminescence. I think there's definitely a lot of interesting ideas as to how it could be actually, like what it could be made of and how it could be flowing. One thing I would say too is that the idea of two rotations on a planar Earth, it wouldn't necessarily just be like two disks of stars. There would obviously be a geometry to the sky as well, and whatever the kind of 3D nature of the sky is, let's say, to where it would have a much more complex geometry than just two simple rotations. So I think in some of these depictions that have been, of showing the kind of cross section of that magnetic field and then trying to depict it, don't necessarily show the actual like 3D nature of it. And then lastly, I would say too that with a planetarium, you can have like basically a flat floor, a flat circle, and then a hemisphere, and you can project, the stars onto that screen in all the different positions on Earth, and those all fit over planar grids. So whatever the sky is, it already it already is mapped in terms of like over all those planar grids, and yeah, I mean how a planetarium works. Obviously, they're projected onto a hemisphere. Am I saying that it's that simple either? That the sky is they're just being projected onto a hemisphere that follows you around? I mean, that's a little bit too simplistic as well. So yeah, like how it's actually functioning is a sort of much deeper mystery, really, because I mean, unless we can really go to the sky and tangibly access it, we're just left to observe it.
I'm amazed of all the hypotheticals put forward as try to force what you actually observe to conform to a flat Earth. It's amazing what you can come. Luminescence, or whatever you call it. Well, check the electromagnetic spectrum from it and compare it to what electromagnetic spectrum you get from a star. Well, it's not the same, so you can leave that out at once. And if it was a strong magnetic field, what happens to light in a strong magnetic field as it goes through it? It gets polarized, doesn't it?
A lot of the ancient.
No, hang on. That means if light from the star is going through a strong magnetic field, that light should be polarized, and it's not.
Deflecting. It would be deflecting too. But you wouldn't ever be able to tell if there was an electromagnetic field potential there or not, because we could never.
No, electromagnetic fields doesn't affect a neutral.
Yes, it does. It affects light. Yes, it does. Just the potential of the field. Even if the field has no measurement, it still affects it.
I was just going to say too, a lot of ancient writings do refer to like the heavens having like a liquid, the waters above, and not only in the biblical but in other traditions as well, referring to like the layers, sort of like the membrane of like your eye that has all the different layers, like your cornea and the lenses. That if there is a fluidic nature to what's above us, and that brings in. That's why I like the idea of superfluid, plasma, and some of these components. But if you incorporate like any type of a fluidic component, that gives a lot more variation, almost like the way that you would have like a rushing like river of water, but in terms of like vortices, because like in water you can create vortices really easily. Like if you drag your hand through the water or like a paddle, you'll get the clockwise and counterclockwise motions. So if there is some kind of a vortex that's moving through the center, through the equator, and then it's creating the clockwise and counterclockwise, just like it does in water. So it's kind of interesting too.
Geo, what do you think? Like, sun is physical because like these astronauts, right? So whenever they release the pictures of the Earth, it really looks like it's just physical, and it's also rotating. So that's also confusing for also. Like if we can really prove the sun is not physical, it has a different kind of observation, then the whole globe Earth theory could be destroyed. But it really looks like physical thing. Like there are flares and all, sun spots, and it's rotating. It really looks like a globe. Like sun really looks like a sphere and a giant sphere. That's a crazy thing. Like if the sky is like completely a deception, like created in a way so that it can deceive us to believe heliocentric globe Earth model, then really. Otherwise,
Well, why
I
would
don't
God
think so.
deceive us like that? I mean, I thought God was good. Why would he make a huge deception like that?
Without the deception, you can't explain the world. Like, you can't explain anything without accepting deception, and that's why, like, every
What a
religion
load of
also
crap.
accepted it. Like the Satan is a deceptive nature of the physical
Albert,
realm.
you tell yourself that.
Why?
So Satan made the earth, not God?
No one really made the earth. It's existing forever throughout eternity. But Satan means like this nature, this physical realm. Whenever we are trying to understand it, means doing science. Science means what? Science means trying to study and getting knowledge of the physical world, like what it is and why it is dynamics and all. So it will deceive you by like evidences will lead you to a theory that is wrong. But that theory could be useful, that could be utilitarian, like a globe. Globe could be useful, utilitarian, but it's false. Why? Because it's a deception. It's an illusion you got by the science and evidences. But in real, something else.
Well,
So
this
Until around
physics as we know it is a deception made up by the devil.
no, because this world, you need to understand what this world is. This world is like there is God is what? God is like supernatural, eternally existing, right? God is existing eternally, but supernatural. Then this is natural. So what is this natural world? This is natural world is the body of the God. God is supernatural. This is the body. So this body has to follow the supernatural through a fourth dimension or something. So every matter, everything is
The
following God.
yeah. So the universe is like a projection of God.
It's just like a physical body of the God along it's existing alongside with the God throughout the eternity. So no one like God never like created it. It's just cyclic. It has to follow the natural laws, but natural laws in real terms and they are supernatural because they are natural laws means the physical body of the God means the physical universe is following God directly. So that is the natural laws. So that's why whenever we are breaking and
So the natural law that we observe are deceiving us to believe that the Earth is spherical.
no, natural laws are not receiving. Natural laws means following the supernatural God is the natural law. Like why water is behaving in the way water is. So this is like supernatural uh, commands of the God that water has to follow always. So these are the
So
supernatural laws that we call natural.
So God's a
So,
liar,
but why deceiving?
right?
Deceiving is in the sense because we are the part of the God as a conscious soul, right? So whenever we are trying to feel or taste individuality, we have to get into a environment, into a physical realm where it can give us an opportunity to taste different things, taste and experience different things. And if we know the truth in this physical realm, then we can't do it. Imagine like if everyone knows, like okay, we are the part of the war, and everyone knows okay, what is the truth? We know eternity. So then we can't do anything like what we do here because we know everything. So where is the so when we are in a deceptive world, then we can even go against the God. We can also say, okay, there is no God exists. But in real, we ourselves are the part of the God. Like if the supernatural God is the ocean, then we are just the waves. We are just the drop that trying to feel the individuality through this physical world, and we are connected to a physical body. So what will that physical body serve us? It will just serve us like different experiences, and without
So we'll
natural
never
world
find
deceiving
reality.
us.
So we're
Yeah,
never going to
without
find
natural
reality,
world,
is what you're saying. So we might as well give up now.
yeah, what it's
as of
saying is
without
like
natural,
if we mix oxygen and hydrogen gas and set fire to it, and the result is water. That's due to something supernatural behind it.
yeah, everything is something else. But whenever you are making a theory, it's a wrong theory, but it could be later and it could be useful. And whatever world gives you, it gives you opportunity. The physical realm, it's real, but it gives you opportunity to use it in different way. Like it will give you opportunity to to heat the water, right? So we can heat the water and boil it, but we can never know why it really happens, right? Why really it
Yes, we
happens at
do.
the
We,
deepest
we,
level.
we have a really good understanding for why it boils.
Yeah, you have understanding, and these all theories are fake. That's what I'm saying. That's why science also is like
They are
we just
they are
have a
fake.
theory, but we can
Hang
never
on,
prove it.
excuse me. The knowledge of why water boil and the physics behind it is a lie.
It's just a deception that people believe, but the answer should be something else that we can never know.
The answer should be something completely different from what we actually know and test.
Yeah, do you
Well,
think
you
like science ever claimed like they proved something as true?
yes.
No,
But tell me anything without the, I mean, like I'm not asking about observations that we can really observe. Like water is, if we put heat, then water will boil at 100 degree. This is a real world observation. I'm asking you, does science proved anything? Like okay, like they proved like the Earth gravity, what gravity is, what electromagnetism is, why heat
no.
exists. These
I
kind
mean,
of things.
yeah, but that doesn't matter. Keep the earth and that out of it. What does science understand how water boils? Does it have something to
No,
do with the energy transferred into the water molecules?
yeah, that's a theory, right?
That's a
So
scientific
why the,
theory, yes.
yeah, so why the energy will make it boil? What is energy?
Well, if you add energy to atoms, they start moving. The more energy, the more they move.
Okay,
You're
the
actually
more
transferring
energy, more
kinetic.
it vibrates.
You're transferring kinetic energy into the atoms.
Okay, so this is what. Do you think it's the dynamics? No, it's not dynamics. What I'm talking about, it's the physical world observation. Like you have something that you can put mixed with something else, and there is a causality, cause and effect relationship. So you are just showing me a cause and effect relationship. Like we have this cause, and it is the effect. I'm not ignoring that. Yeah,
Does this
we can
does the
observe the cause
deception
and effect.
does
Yeah,
the
but we
deception
can't know
ever
why it's happening. Yeah.
does the deception ever fail?
Deception because the nature or the physical will always have to follow God, so it will not fail. That's why whenever you are boiling water, it will always boil. You're confirmed, because
But
matter don't have free will. The universe don't have free will to accept or reject the God. But it's all up to us, because we are supernatural. That's why we are, sometimes we can accept something or reject something, but matter can't do that.
Well, the water does not always boil, regardless how much
So
temperature
water
you
will
put into it.
always boil if the conditions. Why are you saying like water will not boil?
Supercritical water does not boil.
Yeah, so you are talking about something else. Like if I give you water, if
No,
you are
no, no.
boiling water in your room temperature, what?
Uh, you know what? You know what supercritical water is.
So now you're introducing something else, and that thing is also
No,
like you already
it's
know.
just
It will, you
it's
are,
just water. It's just water under very high pressure and high temperature, and it doesn't boil.
yeah. So it is following. It is still following those laws, right? The laws of nature that you
But
call natural laws.
you said that water always boil.
Water will. You need to understand what I'm saying. I'm saying like water will boil according to what we observe. Like we are observing like water will boil at a particular, right? At a particular whatever you're calling like pressure, right? So if I give you the
you're
same
literally
setup
saying
every time,
you're saying
it will follow
you're
that
saying
again and again.
you're saying like everything is a deception, but everything always works according to like will
No,
react the same way.
when you are trying to know the truth, then the nature have fake answers, because nature is not here to give you the truth. That's what called the
Yeah.
Satan in Bible.
What's your definition of truth?
Truth is something that exists.
What's your definition of like true is just something that exists? That's your definition of what true is?
Yeah, existence means truth.
So, like a quantum field is true.
If it exists, then it's true.
It does.
No, it's your theory that it does. It's your theory that
No. It's in with particle physics.
You can't
It's well
claim.
known.
Okay, so you can't claim something in science. Like, okay, like you're saying evolution is true. Yeah, because we have theory of evolution. No, the truth is truth. You kind
Okay,
of have fake theories, right? You can have fake theories, like, right? That could be changeable.
Let's turn it around. What can you tell us about how the world works without science and scientific understanding and knowledge? How does the world work?
Okay, first of all, like science is not some kind of like a giant devil that you can go and meet. That's why you are introducing something called science, because there is nothing like that. Science is just like trying to study the physical world, right? So you can make a way to do it or not do it. So first you tell me what the hell you're talking about when you're talking about science, because what science you're talking about.
So you
Because
don't
you're saying
consider
like there is a way. No, you're saying
you
there
don't
is a way
consider
called science, but there is no way like that. What the way
you
you're
don't
talking about?
you don't think like true is when a proposition corresponds with reality?
No, no, it's like whenever you're making a theory, I'm talking about that.
No,
Truth
I'm
is what
saying
truth is.
do you reject the definition that true is a property of a statement when the statement corresponds with reality? Do you
No,
reject
I
that
already defined you
definition?
what truth is. I already defined you
Do
truth. Truth is what exists. So if so whatever you're claiming, like okay, like nowadays what people are claiming like water is S2, okay? So most of the people it's true, right? But it doesn't matter for the ultimate truth. If whatever water is, that is true, right? You are making a theory that water is S2 and you are considering it's true. And if you're in your ways, if you are also trying to recheck it and it's giving you the same result, like water is S2O. But that doesn't make it true. It's just in your mind, in your way of doing, right? So you could be deceived by the nature. Like nature have a fake answer for you that the water is S2O, but water is just something else. In the same way, like Earth could be a flat, right? But how can you know? So if people are trying to know the shape of the earth, that they can never know because nature is not going to give you the true shape of the earth, right? So it will deceive you by giving a globe. How it can give you a globe? By deceiving you through the sky. You will look into sky, make a spherical coordinate system and do cartography and you will get a globe.
So actually what you're saying is that H2O might not be H2O. It could be something else. So it's not
do you think like science
it's
really
not
proved it 100%?
Yeah. Have you seen one of the latest video they did with the electron microscope where they see how a water molecule
Why
starts
you
to
are talking
build?
about latest? Why you are talking about latest? Like this theory of
Because
water is
because
S2O is from
because
centuries.
because science is moving forward all the time.
Moving forward means it can also be rejected after a few centuries, right?
So no. So basically, what you're saying
No,
is
I'm
that
asking you. I'm asking you. Wait.
Hang on,
No,
hang on,
don't
hang on,
interrupt. Yeah.
hang on. What you're actually saying is that a water molecule might not be made up of two hydrogens and one oxygen atom. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you know this?
As I told you, that we can't
No,
know. And if you think like you know that the water is S2O, then tell me who really established that truth and when? Because this theory is going on from a long time. So if you say like okay, like Einstein was also believing that the water is S2O, but that time it was not proven. You have to accept that Einstein was also in just a speculation that water is S2O. But nowadays, you people with your, I don't know what you
Excuse me.
have.
Are you saying S2?
No, you okay? Then go ahead and prove the water is S2O.
No. Yeah, I'm asking. Are you saying S for Sierra 2 to describe water?
Bro, he said H2O.
Oh, it says
H2O, I'm saying.
H2. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chemistry. It's a really good place to start.
Okay, you're just naming one thing, chemistry, and that's all. And
Electrolysis.
we all just have to accept it. We just all have to accept it because it is chemistry and they are teaching chemistry in schools. Okay, then the case is closed. This is the way you are like making your worldview, then you are just delusional. That's why we call like the people
Have
who
you?
accept the deception,
Okay.
they are delusional.
Well,
Have
what
you?
I'm
Have
confused
you ever?
about is
Have you?
is you saying something is true if it exists. Well, it exists that when we put water through hydrolysis, electrolysis, it produces 2 hydrogen atoms for every oxygen. That's something that is true. That's something that does exist. So
No,
that
it
means it's
doesn't
true.
exist like that. Whenever someone do
How does it not
hydrolysis, they have
exist?
to put NaCl. No, they have to put NaCl into it so that there would be a chain reaction when the electricity is going there, right? Then there is a
Okay,
reaction, and
but it
the salt
exists.
or whatever you put there, yeah, then there is a reaction and it releases gases. Then you think, okay, like water is breaking into H2O. It's a well-known thing. The people who critically analyze it.